Welcome to the HR Champions podcast with me, Phil Scott of HR Recruit. I bring you leaders from the HR community. In our podcast, we'll be discussing their careers to date, their passion for HR, and the challenges they've faced along the way. Today, I'm delighted to introduce Grace Coleman, Human Resources Consultant at HSBC and winner of Rising Star Award. I'm extremely interested to hear from Grace and to hear all about the award and her career to date. So Grace, I'm going to pass it over to you. Please give the listeners a quick introduction to yourself.
Thanks, Phil. So like Phil said, my name is Grace and I am a HR consultant for HSBC. HSBC, as most people will know, is a very well-known bank which operate globally. And I started at HSBC in February this year and look after a portfolio of HR projects across the UK bank.
Brilliant. So let's start at the beginning. How did you first get into HR?
I think, like a number of people, it was probably quite a bit of a happy accident. I got a job working for TfL during the Olympics after I'd just graduated and was initially employed by the IT team. But I think it became clear to me and a lot of people that my passion wasn't really IT and I wasn't particularly good at understanding lots of the technical coding things. So what ended up happening was they had an IT capability team. So I ended up doing a kind of placement in there whilst volunteering as a travel ambassador out on the streets of London. And then everything since then has kind of been developing on those kind of capability and learning and training things to where I am today.
Brilliant. And what is it you like about working within HR?
So I think it's just so different. You kind of wake up every morning and you think you're going to have a particular day and everything is then usually not what you expected to be on that day. It's full of really interesting people and you get to see a really interesting side of businesses and there's lots of opportunities. I guess I really like a challenge and doing HR really well I think is not easy at all, and so you spend a lot of time balancing lots of different people's needs and trying to do the right thing by people and by the organisation that you work in, and so it's just a really interesting combination of activities.
And how's your career progressed so far? What's been the secret to the progression?
I don't know that there is a secret. I think all I would say is I've just taken every opportunity. Lots of roles I've taken or experienced or activities I've done have just been carved out of being really curious and trying to work out what else I can do to learn or do something different or make a difference. And so I suppose just keeping up to date with what's happening outside of organisations and just trying to do different things all the time.
Have you had any particular standout achievements, would you say?
So other than that award, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit, I suppose my biggest achievement I would say was my first role as a line manager. I feel like you go through different roles and take different jumps and leaps, and for me at the moment, taking different steps and leaps are the biggest and most important things. And that particular role, when I think about my own achievements, I went as a first kind of new line manager, taking on a team where I was individuals' peers who hadn't had a line manager before and a huge volume. I always look at that kind of thing as a massive learning and growth for me. But I think there's still plenty more time for lots of achievements and lots of things to look back on.
And how did you find that first foray into management?
Tough. I think hadn't really thought about doing it, and my line manager at the time said, we need to cover a maternity, you could give it a go. And I knew nothing about, I'd never worked in recruitment before. The team hadn't had a line manager for ages, and there were around 17 of them in the team at that time, and it was a really busy time of year for grad recruitment. At the time I just went, okay, sure. But it really was tough and a massive kind of baptism of fire into both recruitment and also being a line manager and supporting my team through what was one of our busiest years in that particular environment. So yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I love leading teams and have got learn a huge amount about recruitment and how vital it is in HR. So yeah.
And when you've obviously worked within HR, have you always stuck to sort of your responsibilities, or do you get out into wider operations?
I've always enjoyed going and doing different things and learning about the business. I don't think you can do as good of a job as you think you can unless you really understand the business that you're supporting. So, take my first role in HR, and when I first started working, a lot of my job was being an HR ambassador, volunteering out, helping traveling public for TfL, so that was a huge learning experience to help take back into when you were kind of supporting the business and individuals. I know I've always spent a lot of time trying to get to know the people that work in the business, because you'd never want to be a person that just sits in an office and doesn't understand those kind of operational bits that really are the heart of many organisations.
Yes, I think when I'm chatting with people that have climbed the ladder, that's the difference really between those that just stay in a silo and those that really get out operationally within the business. So we mentioned the award. If I have it correctly, it was HR Magazine Future Leader of the Year. Is that correct? And talk me through that. Talk me through that award.
So it was actually a massive shock and a huge, I was hugely proud, because I had no idea that anyone had nominated me until I received an email to say that I needed to go to some award ceremony because I was a finalist in an award. And what transpired is so my line manager at the time and her line manager had decided to write up a nomination without me knowing and submit it to the panel, and then so a few of us went along to the award ceremony, and I kind of went along like, this is really lovely, I'm really touched, and it was enough for me that someone had even taken the time to write something nice, and then to get to the point of winning, there's a really funny video of me of my reaction to actually winning. I just couldn't believe that not only would someone write anything nice about me, but that I would actually then be judged independently and win such an amazing award.
Fantastic. I'm surprised to have. And what do you think the people that nominated you, saw in you then? Why did they feel passionate enough to put you forward?
So I actually went back and read the nomination or the kind of write-up yesterday, just to make sure I really understood what it was and could reflect on that a bit more. And what it seems to come through is enthusiasm and passion for being delivery focused. So one of the things that comes up all the time and is definitely through there is not giving up and being particularly passionate about doing the right thing, and no matter what comes up in the way, just working a way around it and trying to think practically about what do we need to do here. I know all these things tell us we shouldn't, but actually what is the right thing that we should be doing, and just doing what we need to do together to be able to deliver that.
And what's your view in terms of the impact HR can have on an organisation?
So, people are so critical to just about every organisation. Things are changing, roles are changing, and throughout the last year, going through this situation of everyone being at home and working differently and types of things that have happened, HR is so critical now more than ever, I would say, to making sure that people can do their best at work and help organizations survive and thrive and grow and change with a business and be engaged and support what that business objectives need to do. So I just think it's from getting the basics right to making sure people get paid and can turn up and can do what they need to do, but to also drive in that kind of strategic piece with that business so that the organization can deliver.
And obviously, where we are today, we're sort of in the middle of COVID. Hopefully, some good news that's been coming out recently. And one of the things that seems to crop up is the importance of well-being. How important do you think it is for HR to have a focus on employee well-being?
I think right now more than ever it's huge. There are all different sorts of well-being too that will enable somebody to be able to come to work and do everything they need and want to do in that space. So there's physical well-being, mental well-being, and even financial well-being are really important for HR to support the business and colleagues to be able to come to work and feel safe and supported to do their jobs.
Okay, and just on the award itself, so future leader. So what's the ambitions then for Grace Coleman?
Do you know what, I can't say that I have a specific role in mind. I'm always wanting to learn and grow, and I know I've got so many things to learn from lots of different people. So it's really important to me that every opportunity and every next step gives me that kind of challenge. Yeah, I don't know. Everything's changing so much all the time. I don't want to say, also don't want to say this is the job I want to do, because who knows if it'll even exist by the time I get around to doing it. But I just know that I want to be in a role where I can work with other organizational leaders to drive something passionately and create an environment where people are engaged in what they're doing and can help a business succeed.
So give me 3 people then who've been most influential to you.
I feel I had a real think about this, and I feel that the first one would have to be, probably like many people, would have to be my husband. So Grant and I have known each other since we were at school, and he, unlike me, has had a real drive to do one particular job. So he worked really hard all the way through school and got incredible grades. He's super dedicated, super intelligent, and has just driven that passion the whole way through. And I think even at times when I was considering, not doing as well at school, or, not like that's a consideration, but when I was thinking, I don't know what I want to do and I don't know where I'm going, he's always really challenged me and been such an inspiration. And so he's a surgeon, and he goes to work and does that every day and works stupidly hard. I think he came home at midnight last night because things were overrunning and he was supposed to be home at 5, and he just has such a passion for what he does. I think it's just inspiring that, him and all of his colleagues, I guess, right now, but for me personally, his way of working and the way that he's kind of thinks and operates is really inspiring for me. The other person is probably a colleague I worked with a couple of years ago. I always kind of wondered what type of HR person I wanted to be, because there's lots of different ways of working and how I want to do things. And there was a particular HR director I worked with a few years ago who really showed me that it's okay to make mistakes, and that there's not always one answer to things, and that how actually going to work, it's all about kind of working together in this collaborative piece, and how she's driven her career and challenges lots of things and still gets involved in everything and works really hard. So I guess, those are 2. I might save my third spot for another person that might inspire me along the way, but I think those 2 will probably stick with me forever.
Brilliant. And so who do you learn from? What personal development do you do?
So there's still people like that. So that particular HR director is still a massive influence on me today. So every kind of work problem, not every work problem, but big work problems that I want to talk through, I will go through with her. I like to learn about the business. So moving to HSBC for me was my first step into financial services or banking. And so I'm trying now to learn more about the businesses that I work in. So I'm now, a subscriber to The Economist. I've had economics lessons because that was different for me, and I wanted to really understand, when people are talking about all our financial results, what does that really mean for a business, and how can we help do something different on the back of that information. So I guess there's those kind of small things, but I guess one of the things I love about being a line manager is that all of my team teach me stuff every day. Everybody, you can learn facts and things, but I think the way that I don't think you'll ever stop learning is about how people do things and how people operate and the way they think about things. So that's really interesting to me, and I guess you can just learn from everyone.
And have you faced any setbacks? If so, how did you overcome them?
I think I'm fortunate enough to be in a space where I haven't yet, or haven't experienced any major setbacks. The only thing I think that's really important or really challenging when I look at where I've been and the journey that I've been on, is things like sometimes feeling like you can't you have done everything by fluke, and I know imposter syndrome is such a massive part of people's lives, and a huge proportion of the population experience it, but I think what people that don't experience it don't realize is how exhausting it can be, and how that can really impact the journey that you take, and the way you make decisions, and how it feels when you are in new situations, and how tiring it is to just keep going and kind of say that everything's going to be fine and you can do this, and I think that's just one of those journeys that some people go on, and that's probably the only thing for me that kind of at the moment is something that is in my kind of mind. But in terms of general setbacks, I don't think I've had any big ones to report.
That's good to know. What's one common myth about HR that you'd like to dispel?
The biggest one I would say for me would be that HR are just here for enforcing policies and saying no to everything. I would like to think it's not even a myth anymore, but I worry that perhaps a lot of people do still think that. I genuinely think there's always a way to achieve an outcome. The way and the suggestion that people might make to achieve that outcome might not be the right one, but if we think about what we wanted to achieve with it, and there's always some other way of doing it or a way to get around it, it might just be that first option was a terrible idea and we need to think again.
And have you made any mistakes? And if so, what advice would you be able to give someone else so they don't make that same mistake?
Well, plenty on a daily basis. I think I could have done something differently. But that's the point, right? You go through everything with learning new ways of doing things, and it doesn't, mistakes can always generally be fixed. And once you fix them, it's always good to look back and go, well, actually, next time round, how will I have done that differently? What happened as a result of that? And how next time could I preempt that from happening, or do something different that meant that was better or had a different outcome in the long run. But yeah, I think I would be very naive to say that I didn't have mistakes all the time.
And if you weren't in HR, what profession would you choose?
I think it would have to be something entirely different. So I mean, there's loads of things I'd love to be able to do, but I know I physically or mentally couldn't. But I think if there's something that I actually think I could probably do, I would probably go somewhere and work on a safari lodge and drive around with zebras and rhinos and have a nice time in the sunshine.
Sounds good to me. Listen, it's flown by. If anyone wants to reach out to you, can they? And if so, what's the best way of getting in touch?
Of course, LinkedIn's the best way to connect, I think, these days. So happy to connect with anyone that wants to.
Brilliant. And, a massive thank you, Grace, for sparing us the time and giving us those insights. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode of the HR Champions podcast, and stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks, Grace.
Thank you.